Hi! What product do you use to clean your rubber stamps? Do you use the same one for all of them or different cleaners for different stamps? Well, there are a few to pick from, including the new stamp cleaning pad that I'm going to use with you for the first time so we can see what we think about it together. We'll look at a variety of ways to clean red rubber stamps in photopolymer or clear stamps. I'm Shelley Godby, the owner and CEO of Stampin Smiles, and for 18 years I've been teaching others how to create their own hand stamped smiles. So I've given you some tips on what to do and some not to do. I've been secretly hoping the stamp cleaning pad will do something for us, and we'll discover that together in just a bit. But let's start at the beginning. When I first started stamping over 18 years ago, all there was red rubber stamps. Now we have clear or photopolymer stamps too. And so my first demonstrator, there was a stamp cleaning pad, and it was just one big open pad about this side. And so she would go to the sink and put water in it. And then she would dry it, so she'd wash it on there and dry it on a towel. Well, I'm sure she did the best that she knew, but here are two reasons you don't want to do that. The first, by just cleaning with water, I did that, and then one day I had used a dark ink, cleaned it like she had taught us, and when I went into a light pad, and I'm kind of thinking it was barely banana. Do you remember that? It was a really light color, and my pad was full of that dark ink. It was like, oh no, that's not right. And the problem with the towel, I kept getting voids when I would stamp, voids in the ink. I thought, what in the world? Well, just at that time, CSI had started, and that's when we started learning about how we leave fibers all over the place. I thought, oh, even though there was always lint in the dryer trap, never thought about it. So then I started looking at my stamps, and I could see all these little fibers that I'd have to pull off. That, okay, there's got to be a better solution. And so I got out my demonstrator manual and read it. So to solve the first problem, Stampin Mist. This cleans and conditions your stamps. I definitely wanted something that would clean it well, and then when I read that it conditioned, I thought, well, yes, I've got an investment in these rubber stamps. I want to condition them and keep them in really good condition. So I recommend the Stampin Mist with our vastly improved Stampin Scrub that we now have. So this is really cool. On one side, you have the umbrella that tells you that's where the Stampin Mist goes, and on the other side, you dry it. So we'll start here. We'll miss that, but you know what? We've got a stamp here, and isn't this just so pretty? It's from the new Versailles stamp set. And I'm going to show you a card with that in just a bit too. So I've got some Whisper White cardstock. Let me get this out of the way for just a moment. And let's go ahead and ink this up. And I have the soft seafoam pad. Pick that up, slide it in, quick swipe on my stamping sleeves because I'm going to be handling a card that I'm just crazy about I made yesterday. And I don't want to smudge it. So we'll stamp. And why I have some cardstock here is because we don't usually ink and then go right into the cleaning pad, right? And once in a while that will happen because wait a minute, that's not the color I wanted. I still will go ahead and stamp off some of the ink first. All right, so let's open this back up. Here we go. So on this side, we have the Stampin Mist. And here's another tip that I've learned along the way, because I would just always leave my Stampin Scrub open, and I'm not a fast stamper. And so by the time I was ready to, clean the stamp, I had to spray more mist on it. And one day I thought, okay, so either the heat is on or the air conditioning drying this out. I started closing this in between, and it kept the Stampin Mist moist. So that really stretched it for me. So on this side, you clean it. And then you come over here, and we're drying it and getting off any residual ink. You know what I mean if you have any men in your house who don't thoroughly wash their hands, what ends up on your towel. But better here than on an ink pad of another color, compromising it. So you clean when you're done stamping with a stamp, or if you want to change colors, because sometimes we do like to mix the colors. So anytime you're going to use a new color, clean with your Stampin Scrub and your Stampin Mist. So let's do a little push on that. Pull on that lip and click. Okay, so that is the Stampin Scrub and Mist. And I've used this for years and absolutely love it. Oh, something else I want to tell you. If I get something really inky, really deep down in, I will just spray it right on there. Especially because with the craft inks, they can be really thick. These are the pigment inks. And so I'll spray on there and get down into the grooves. And then we got photopolymer stamps, and they are clear. And they tend to stain, but you know what? The first time that happened to me, I asked somebody and she says, you know what? Now I have no trouble finding it. But even if I used it with an ink, and the Tuxedo Black Momentum ink pad tends not to stain it, if I use my Stampin' Scrub and I already had some ink on the wet side, it was picking up the ink and staining it anyway. Oh, and I wanted to mention, after you've used it for a while, or you've used some really heavy colors that day, or the pigment inks, you go to the sink and rinse it off. Just let the water run over it till it comes clear. And I put it over I'm trying to think, it's not the handle, the faucet, the sink faucet, and just let it drip dry. Okay, and so you just cool water, you just run over top of that. And so I wasn't pleased with that. Well, we now have what's called a Simply Shammy. And when you get it, it's a lovely lavender. I'll show you. I've got my catalog right here. It looks like this when you get it, but it doesn't take long for it to get stained. And that's okay, because it's hard to believe, but even though you see all of this on there, it's stained, but it doesn't get onto our cardstock. And so I'll show you. We'll go ahead and do some stamping again. How about the Rococo Rose? Oh, isn't that pretty? One of the new 2019-2021 in colors. We'll pick that up, slide in, quick swipe. Okay, so we'll ink this up. Do a quick stamp. Okay, oh, gracious. And then you come over here and you clean it. Like I said, it's all stained. You would think, let's go right here in the black. You would think that this would just pick up all the black, but it doesn't. Look at that, nice and clean. So that's how we're cleaning our photopolymer stamps and doing a fabulous job. All right, so because I wasn't thrilled, with my stamps getting stained, one day I tried something for my newsletter. I thought, because I have used Stays On ink to remove our old basic black, the permanent black ink from stamps. I used it and I was able to get that ink off, and I really liked that. But when I was done, because it smells harsh, the Stays On does smell harsh. When I was done, I would clean it with the Stampin' Mist. But I was just so thrilled to be able to get those ink stains off. Not that it hurt anything, but some of us have issues. So then I thought, wait a minute, I remember that working really well on my red rubber stamps. What about on my photopolymers that get stained? And in the reds and the browns must have a lot of reds, and that's what I use with this, the early espresso, tend to get stained. Well, they just do. They get stained. And so I tried it, and it worked. And then there was a little voice in my head that says, you better ask Stampin' Up, because like I said, I could smell how harsh this is. And I called and I said, hey, can I use the Stays On cleaner on my photopolymer stamps? She says, do you mind holding for a bit? And she came back and said, no, not one time or two, but you don't want to do that because you actually can destroy the photopolymer. I thought, okay. So it became an article of what not to do, and that was a long time ago. So don't do that, all right? And but good to know. Good to know. So here's what I've been secretly hoping for, that this stamp cleaning pad, like I said, I haven't tried it yet. I'm hoping it's going to remove some of this ink. And that's not what the description says that it will do, but let's just see together. So this is stained, like I said, with Early Espresso Classic Stampin' Pad ink. I'll show you because I made this card. This clean and simple card with a beautiful friendship stamp set Didn't that turn out just lovely? This was my thank you card for everyone who places their Stampin' Up! Orders of $25 or more with me in July 2019. All right, so let's see. Let's just, oh my gracious. I mean, we didn't ink it first. It is pulling up some of the color. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am. All right. So I can tell this is going to get stained real quickly, right? But that's okay. Oh, that is interesting. So I don't want to do this terribly long because we want to go on to some other subjects, but that is pulling up the color. Wow. All right. So it is pulling it up to where, so I might need to keep playing until I get it to, or just wipe it off and say good enough, because I bet when it dries it'll be perfectly fine. But I am definitely pulling color off of there. Very interesting. Okay, so this is described, to be quick and convenient for you. And so let's go ahead and we'll do a little bit more inking with our, oh, love these leaves from the very Versailles stamp set. So let's do this again. And because we had cleaned it really well. And we'll stamp, because like I said, you don't normally go right from inking into your pad. And now because this is bigger than that, let's just try this. Now I'm seeing that it's leaving it wet. That's interesting. So what we're going to find out now is if it's off of there immediately, or if we need to be stamping off to get off the moisture, because that is really wet. That's interesting. Oh, that pulled some of that other color. Ah ha ha. Okay. That's interesting because I had that stained ink on there. All right, but I keep stamping off. So it was pulling up that, but when we let it dry, I think it'll be just fine because we're getting rid of that. Okay. So let's go into this pad, because if we have any of that red still on there with this light color, it'd be really obvious. Let's see. No, so it did a good job cleaning. So this is interesting. All right. And so with this, you can get refills. There's a refill for that. So I'm liking it for the idea of reducing the staining, because some of the stamps, when you're doing the two-step stamping, that you need to be able to see through it, when it gets really dark and stained, it's hard to do. So that's why I was hoping I'd be able to pull up some of the color with this. Now, there's another note about this. If you stamp with the Stays On ink, remember I just showed you the Stays On cleaner. If you stamp with Stays On ink, don't use this, use the Stays On cleaner. And how you do that, this has a tip, and I rub it on the stamp, and then clean on my Stampin' Scrub. Now, because this is so harsh, I do go ahead and rinse my Stampin' Scrub after cleaning with the Stays On. All right. And so another tip about this stamp cleaning pad is when using the red rubber cling stamps, if you clean it on here, it reads to rinse it right away. So let's do that. Not that I got it dirty, but it reads to rinse it right away, and with water, so it doesn't affect the adhesive for the cling label. And I'm guessing now, because I thought, I'm not quite sure because I had never used this before this video, it is so juicy that perhaps it could, well, the label's up there. I don't know. Anyway, that's what it reads. And so I was thinking about that. I thought, well, if I went somewhere, unless I did have something like this, it would just be easier for me to use my well-trusted Stampin' Scrub and Mist if I was stamping with the red rubber cling stamps, than to have to get up and go find some water to rinse that off. So your call. But I do highly recommend the Stampin' Scrub and Mist for your red rubber stamps. And the Simply Shammy is just simply wonderful because it cleans. I know it looks pretty nasty. And what I have this in is the full wide clear mount case, and that helps keep it moist. And then every once in a while, because there is ink on there, it's not just stained, but ink does get in there. Like I do with my Stampin' Scrub, I go to the sink, rinse it out, and squeeze it. Don't leave it, leave it damp, but not wet, okay? Squeeze it out, and it stays damp in here for a good while, and if it's been a while since you've stamped, you may, go in there and find out it's dry. You just go revitalize it with some water and squeeze it out. Okay, so I promised to show you a card, and I'm excited to do that. I've been forgetting. I'm so busy talking. I'm going to wipe off my hands on my stamping sleeves because I sure don't want to smudge up this card that I made with the, isn't that pretty? The new Very Versailles, stamp set. Because when I saw this, I thought, oh, this will make beautiful backgrounds, but I ended up using a lot more than I thought, but backgrounds with other stamps. And here's the First Frost stamp set. And to complement, and isn't that pretty? I'll have a link to my blog post with to this card, so you can see more pictures and all the supplies that I used to make it. And so now we reviewed some things to do and some things definitely not to do. That can be really important too. That was fun, trying out the new stamp cleaning pad with you for the first time. All the rubber stamp cleaning supplies I used in the video, including the stamp cleaning pad, are listed below the video and available to order now in my online store, www.shopwithshelly.com. And if you'd like to receive more of my stamping tips, I invite you to subscribe to the Stampers Insider. It's your free stamping source for inspiration, information, and ideas. Just go now to www.thestampersinsider.com to subscribe. I'm Shelly Godby, teaching you how to create hand stamped smiles. Thanks for watching.